breaking it down, how the buy side spins, dollars around. Gareth steps up with that data finesse, selling it right, no room for a guess. The mics are hot, the beats hit hard, fans throw their hands high in the yard. Deals and impressions like a verbal sprint, breaking it down with an ad tech tint.
All right, here we go.
Ad talk, it's a live Q&A, buy side, sell side, clearing the way.
Where's your sound?
Oh, you're not hearing it? Uh-oh. Well, the Ad Tech Ad Talk show is produced by Let's Do Video, and now bringing you the best insights on buy side and sell side, our hosts Adam and Gareth.
Yeah, thank you, Maldo from Let's Do Video. We're missing some sound effects, Dave. We didn't get the cheers there. We didn't get the beat in our theme song. So you work on that while I welcome Planet Ad Tech and my co-host Gareth Glazer to another episode of Ad Tech Ad Talk. It's post-Labor Day. It's September 19th. Q4 is on the verge. There is so much happening in Ad Tech. We're not even going to be able to cram it into an hour today, but we will touch on the hottest topics and all of the questions that come through in the chat. So if you're there, let them fly. We're doing current events, historical events, talking about anything except for the transaction ID that we will not talk much about this week, having overcovered in the past, and the issue just really being much bigger than it warrants, right? It's gotten to be a much bigger deal than the actual functionality of transaction ID. But I do want to ask you about the proposal that's now on the table. It hit the socials, I think yesterday. Is a proposal from a sell side executive who seems to be offering to meet halfway. Assuming transaction ID is a buy side proposal, this is sell side meeting it halfway. The thing I didn't get, Gareth, I want to ask you about is that it said that the buy side, so I'll use the first person for that we have to convey all our bids. And that confuses me because we already convey all our bids. It's called bidding. I don't know, there's a scenario that we bid and the seller doesn't know about the bid. I don't know what he's asking for when he says we want to see all your bids.
Yeah, so I can definitely answer that, and I have an opinion on it. And then I'm gonna, I'm gonna get out my shovel and I'm gonna dig the grave and I'm gonna bury transaction ID today. I'm just gonna put it down. It's time for it to be put down. It's served its it's served its purpose. Old Yeller's going behind the barn today.
Wow.
So the reason they want bids is actually, I think, really noble. In the grand scheme of things, what they want to know is what did the DSP bid and how much did I get paid? And they want to do a reconciliation there. That is a wonderful thing. So in the grand scheme of things, transaction ID aside, that publishers would, and a caveat here, this is Raptive who made this claim, Raptive who is very big and very smart. Most publishers do not have the capacity to reconcile auctions and bids at scale. They just can't do it. And this is a point made by James Strange recently, which I think is a fair one. It's like this is a feature that Raptive will use, and maybe a few other big people will use. But it is a noble feature. Like that way, a publisher can know, hey, the DSP thinks they bid $1 on this. Here's what I actually got. I got 45 cents. So somewhere in the middle, that money went missing, right? The 55 cents, somebody took it.
They mean the advertiser bid.
Yeah. So they want the DSP bid, and to be able to reconcile that back to the final
get the DSP bid.
Well, no, they get the exchange bid, or they get the exchange after the exchange bid. The publishers don't have access to the raw DSP bid.
What you're calling the DSP bid, the bid that's sitting in the DSP as my bid, say it's $1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that goes to an exchange, and then potentially to another exchange, and then it goes into pre-bid, and that's when the publisher sees it.
So what's the difference between what they see? What do they see?
A bunch of money comes out en route. So by the time it gets to the publisher, that $1.
I know they take a lot of the money off the bid. They want to see the money that they want to see, like the margins that add up to that $1.
Yeah, they want to know how much got through.
A bunch of private business deals.
Well, no. It's not buy side margins. They want to know their exchanges. They want to know how much are my exchanges taking from me.
How does Raptive not know that?
Oh man, there's no transparency on this, Adam. That's not a thing. Some exchanges give you logs, a lot don't, and a lot of the bidders in
I'm
pre-bid
only
are
getting more
resellers
confused.
of resellers.
Why
Yeah.
would this be a proposal to the buy side? What Raptive is saying is when I send a bid to, well, let's pick on some. I'll pick on Microsoft Exchange since there's very little chance those executives are watching the show and get mad at me. So if I bid into Microsoft Exchange,
Okay.
Microsoft takes 20% off the bid before Raptive even sees it.
Mhm.
Oh, why? Who is he proposing to that
Or
Microsoft
or
showing
there's
me?
and then potentially there's
I can't
another
make
pre-bid
Microsoft show
bidder.
him that.
Wait. There's another
He's the one who
pre-bid
has a
bidder
contract with
who's
Microsoft.
but there's another pre-bid bidder who's white labeling Microsoft Exchange, who takes another rev share. Or maybe there's another exchange that's buying their traffic from the Microsoft Exchange. This happens all the time. And the chain is complicated and messy. And then this should all be accounted for in S chains. Like that should be a thing, which is something built for buyers, by the way, but like publishers like still should be able to use them. But this is a real problem. Like publishers, I think this would be really healthy. Like this would be a healthy data set to have is here's what buyers think they paid. Here's how much money actually got to publishers. And there are a few companies trying to do it, right? Like with Fiducia, once again, here they come again. They're trying to do this. They're trying to use logs to do this. And it's really hard. Like it's a really hard exercise. I don't think this has anything to do with transaction ID, but I do think this has to do with
Raptive's $1 billion company, right?
Yeah, they're big.
Something like that. Big company. These are their partners, the SSPs, right? Like they've hired the SSPs to.
But there's one contract between SNP and Raptive. Not necessarily, because the SSPs don't have to disclose where their bids are actually coming from. So if their bids are coming from other SSPs, which happens all the time, or other aggregators, there are multiple hops between the DSP and the publisher. And the publisher, in this case, is Raptive's contract is only with the exchange. So they know their exchange revenue share, sure, but I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts if they have a 15% revenue share with the exchange that served the final bid to them, there are another 30, 40%, and then there are probably curators, and there's all kinds of craziness going on here that they have no idea about. I actually think it would be a really healthy thing. This is actually a lovely step towards the thing that I've been yelling about for a while, which is what was working media. Like you bid $1. How much was working media? How much actually went to working media and how much went to everyone else? And I love this one. This one's great. Where they were like, DSP, tell us what you bid. We'll tell you how much went to working media. Let's create like a nice knowledge share here.
No. And let's tell the noobs that one time the ANA tried to found this out. They hit on the the unknown delta. They couldn't do it. There was an unknown delta. There was some percentage that could not be accounted for. And that was a really fun day on Twitter. Everyone guessing what the unknown delta might be.
It's a thing.
Exchange rate reconciliation was the best explanation.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. Exchange rates are floating all around. So, and everyone, there's like a pre-bid exchange rate service. So, but that's one part of the proposal.
You have a show called Unknown Delta. Maybe that could be the episode name.
Oh, that's a great episode name because it's true, and I think that this is a really fair ask from Raptive, and I actually think this would be good for everyone. But I don't think it has anything to do with transaction ID. I think this is just like we're gonna lob this on because a transaction ID, if we have a unifier that the buy side has, they can tell us their bids for this. I get it. The other part of it is the encryption thing, and the encryption thing I don't get as much. I understand why it's supposed to be there for a privacy argument that I still am not sure I understand. And I've talked to a few senior people and they don't really understand it either. But I get the feeling a lawyer, and here we go. Here the shovel's coming out. Shovel's coming out right now. Just saying, so you're ready. A lawyer wrote a note to Prebid, I'm sure, and said, you have liability if you do this. And so they're trying to figure out, well, how do we assuage that? Because now they have this letter from a lawyer. Now there's a paper trail, right? And that there is some sort of privacy violation. And lawyers are like cute puppies. And don't get me wrong, I love lawyers.
How are lawyers like cute puppies, Gareth?
They're like cute puppies in that if you know how technology works, you can tell them certain components of a technology stack. This is especially true in GDPR.
This is not true of puppies.
Well, but so you can tell them certain components of a technology stack in order to push them in the direction of a conclusion, right? And so you can say there's this thing exposed here, and this is available, and you can do joins with
Oh,
this,
yeah,
and
of
et cetera,
course.
et cetera. And you can get a lawyer to go, oh, well, yeah, if you can do that, that's naughty. That's bad.
Yeah.
And you can do that with anything, right? I could convince a lawyer that something was a privacy violation. I could convince a lawyer that something was not a privacy violation because, and well, yeah, I'm talking about the 90% of lawyers here. There are some really smart lawyers. Like whenever I talk to Alan Chappell, I go on his show and I'm like, oh, wow, you get it.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
That tech.
But I've spent tens of thousands of dollars explaining how tech works to lawyers and like just wasted the money. Like they're basically taking what I'm saying and writing it into a contract. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I think the
but-
Simon Media founder is a lawyer.
Yeah, there. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. There are some spectacular JDs out there, like, and also JDs you wouldn't expect. And I'm not talking about JD Vance, but like, what I'm pushing for here is that now there's a paper trail that Prebid is liable if this field is used for anything untoward.
Yeah.
That is a so that is like a stake in the ground that has to be addressed now. So I have a new thesis here, a new theory.
Okay, go.
My theory is this is no longer Prebid's responsibility, and that transaction ID, if DSPs want it, use a third-party service.
Yeah.
Pop it out.
Yep.
This shouldn't be a part of OpenRTB. This shouldn't be a part of Prebid. IVT's not. Why is this? You're a DSP, you really want it? Third-party service. Tell publishers if they use it, they'll make more money. And I happen to run a company called Gamera that says I have this stack.
Yeah, how's your race going?
Going great. We're wrapping it up right now. I'm very excited. The future of ad tech is bright. And so this is like something that I spend a lot of time thinking about is how do we shed our like prior burdens? Because we have some news coming up at the end, right? We like to do news at the end. And there's a lot of doom and gloom right now, as there should be, right? So like I saw an INMA report. There are a few reports that came out for publishers, right? Traffic is 40% down for a lot of publishers who have a lot of search.
Yeah.
Sam Altman, the dead internet theory. It's all bots. That's not self-serving at all. I mean, it's also Sam Altman. He's like, in a different universe than the rest of us. I think that I'm not a pessimist. I think the internet's going to stick around. And B, we just need to like redo things. So I'm going to give something from one of my pitches the other day that I really think is true. And I'm curious about your thoughts on this, Adam. I'm curious about your thoughts. When user-based buying emerged, we neglected actual descriptions of inventory pretty aggressively. Because buyers, in truth, and I think that this is something that a lot of publishers say, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, lot of truth to it. Buyers stopped caring about the sites they were running on; they just cared about the user.
Right, you're saying audience targeting. I was there at the beginning.
Yeah.
We target audiences, and now you don't have to use the auto page of the Wall Street Journal as a proxy. You could just target people who were shopping for a car, and all of a sudden, the Wall Street Journal's auto page value plummets because you don't need that context anymore. I was there for that. It happened. It was real. I would say publishers didn't have a good strategy to react to that.
I mean, it's
and maybe still don't. But where are you going with it?
So where I'm going with it right now is that led to this ugly domino effect where programmatic, and I don't think this is controversial. I think a lot of people think this. Programmatic was built in the image of user IDs. It was built in the image of that pitch, right? You no longer have to buy the Wall Street Journal auto section. You can buy users.
Yeah.
And that means that it was built badly for actual performance. And I think that this is true.
It's the best available at the time, right?
Best available at the time, but that is why we get trounced by Facebook. Because Facebook didn't build themselves that way. They built themselves as, oh, we have the audience data, but we're also a website. And we know what parts of our website perform well and what parts don't because it's our website. We have this really like properly defined. And we just totally neglected that in programmatic. We totally neglected the entire inventory thing. We have convoluted supply paths. We're like, hey, as long as it gets to me, it's got a user ID, I'll buy it.
Hey, preaching to the choir.
Yep. So where we need to go is we need to unravel all of that. The whole build out, the whole exchange thing, all of it.
Yeah.
Time for it to go. And it's time for it to go. And the way that you get it to go is you just properly describe the inventory. And this is self-serving now because this is what my company does. But the thesis is that because we didn't do that, programmatic is actually responsible for the enshittification of the internet. And because it commoditized supply itself. And when you didn't actually have the ability to discern between different types of advertising units and different units, they all got priced the same way. Where it's like, I don't care like how this unit has historically performed. I don't even care which unit it is. I care that it's the user. And maybe I care about the domain. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. But I mean, just be careful pointing the finger so broadly, because there should have been competition around that. And because of the dominance of one company, you know, only one measurement model was allowed to survive, right? If you started a DSP in 2015 that does all the things, say, Chalice does today with understanding content and content value and page quality, you wouldn't have been able to sell it at all because everyone was measuring through Google and none of that value could have possibly come through.
Were they measuring through Google?
Yes, like, the Google Ad Server is the hub of all digital measurement.
But shouldn't they still have been able to optimize better using those signals? That's what gets
Not
me.
Automatically. There was no tech to, right? You could try to steer against Google's autopilot, but it would just show your CPA getting higher and higher. So it wasn't good.
Meanwhile, GDN was a contextual network. So Google knew this works, right? Like they used it internally. They used page context. They used page level targeting. They had it. It was because all of their search indexing, they had to contextualize every page they crawled. And I'm sure that was part of GDN's targeting, was they had good contextual data when AdSense and Google Analytics were both live on the page.
I wonder if they probably just ID hunted, but I'm sure they found cases where context mattered. There must be people out there who know.
They definitely did, because the reason I know this is there's huge variability in AdWords, so like GDN CPMs between content categories.
Yep.
And
I know a big one, tax prep. If you're researching tax prep, that's some really valuable content.
So finance is an evergreen publisher category because a bunch of performance advertisers like Quicken and all of the lead gen companies, they want to buy finance traffic, and because it converts. If you're reading about getting a credit card, oh my gosh, one of my first failed forays was a Credit Authority, or my company was called Credit Authority, but it was a Credit Karma competitor. Credit Karma got its start writing reviews of credit cards. Yeah. And then linking people out to go sign up for those credit cards. That was a really simple business. And you go for SEO traffic. But
so everyone in ad tech in New York did time in credit cards. That's like credit card acquisition. It's like our town advertising media training ground.
Oh, those balance transfer cards. This is all pre-LLM, so I like literally the 22-year-old me was writing credit card
descriptions. What year were you? 22?
2012.
Yeah. Well, then I want to tell you, you should have seen it before the crisis. It was so much more money in credit card acquisition.
Oh, really?
Before 2008. It was gigantic. We were handling hundreds of millions on credit card acquisition, home loans. Like the banks were giving out credit like crazy until the crisis, and they loved the internet for doing it because there was some predictability, right?
It's still a good business. If you look at Credit Karma's financials, it's still a good business. Like people are looking for a credit card. Yeah, like here, let me refer you to this credit card company. The credit card company is great. They pay like hundreds of dollars per subscription, right? Because the LTV of a credit card user is huge. But
let's talk about the things that's making it better. So like, a way to think about, all the doom and gloom is like that the gold rush is over. Like you could come into this market 10 years ago and point to the growth trajectory and get venture capital. You'd say like, this is an open water scenario, and I'm going to come in and, get significant share and I'm going to grow on this very steep trajectory and have, a multi-billion-dollar business. And you cannot, me and you are not pitching like that when we pitch for dollars, right?
I've literally been told, like, you're smart, don't do a programmatic startup. Those words were said to me. Like explicitly, I was told, don't do a programmatic startup. And I'm like, no, but I believe in it.
It's just not,
Yeah.
it's not growing like that anymore. And so it's a more mature marketplace. So but I think they muddy that. It's like, I'm not a venture capitalist. I'm not trying to have $100 billion, exit. So what, I don't care that it's not, a frothy gold rush, that it's post gold rush and a maturing market. So
Tell my
that's
investors I am.
what
I'm just joking.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what mostly what VC guys want. Most of Chalice investors are ad tech people, angels and ad tech funds, where they'll be, it's
Yeah.
they're going to make good money. They'll make 20, 30x, I hope.
Well,
So
and
anyway,
you want the positives. I'll give you my positive. My
yeah,
positive is if we fix the inventory side of it, I think the data side is there.
yeah,
I will pit Chalice against DV360's algorithms any day of the week. Even though I've heard they're pretty good. I've heard DV360 could work very well. But I will pit and not just Chalice, right? I will pit the circumference of ad tech AI algorithm providers against the walled gardens. I'll do it. I think there are a lot of smart people running those companies. There's a lot of smart people working on these problems, and they're lean. We're flexible. Like, we can make these changes. I'll do it.
yeah,
I think all we have to do is give them better data. And that's what Gamera does. That's what my company does. I just give them better inventory data.
yeah,
It's a better mousetrap than whatever exists today. I give them the real, actual inventory data. I pass it straight into the bitstream, as it can only be done if you're on the page, which also solves all the transaction ID deduplication, like inventory quality, all that stuff. It's all fixed. It's all fixed once you start getting actual signals from the page. And that's what we do. And I'm really optimistic because we're not just clawing for the $30 billion in programmatic. Facebook is still huge. Facebook's banner business is still huge. And we don't need the volume of traffic that we have now. We don't need it. Like, it's totally unnecessary, the volume of traffic in programmatic. I think it can be a way bigger market with a lot less traffic. Like, and everyone's doom and gloom because they think, oh, traffic is going to go down. And I'm like, well, if you'd ask me if adding more traffic to programmatic right now would increase the size of it, I would say no. Like, that's not going to happen. The size of the market is not correlated to the quantity of programmatic traffic. So if it goes down some, I don't care. Like, that's the size of the market has nothing to do with how many available impressions there are.
what
That's
they
not
go
what they
for,
work.
and what
That's
they
not
go
what they
for,
work
right,
and
yeah.
what they go for. You got it. So let's have less good stuff instead
I
of
met
more bad stuff.
I met an ad tech entrepreneur who's doing real well. I might have him on the show. I won't say who he is, so we can have him and be a surprise.
Ooh.
But he started his ad tech startup marketplace, and he avoided the web. He did all CTV and mobile.
Hmm.
There's better data. He's a back end engineer, has strict requirements around data, and he thinks that the entire web environment is too messy for data. And I'm kind of sympathetic to that. I never heard that before, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Wait, he thinks CTV data is good? There
Well,
is no CTV data. It doesn't exist. And there's a lot of just purely made up CTV data. App, I could be convinced. I could be
no,
convinced.
he's
Yeah.
basic. I don't want to give away his thing, but he's dealing with device IDs, and he has some ways to verify device IDs and their IP connections. So, right, he feels good about CTV and mobile in a way that he can't feel good about web, where you never know if it's real.
He thinks he's getting real IP addresses in CTV? I don't.
When he's here, you can have him on that. I'm saying
Yeah.
philosophically.
But philosophically, no, I align with it because also it's just there's a lot less room for shenanigans in app because of SDKs. So if you have an SDK installed and you can piggyback it in and do all these things, the telemetry is very standardized, right? The implementation is very standardized. And don't get me wrong, there's still a ton of fraud in app, but the app also has the benefit of being an ecosystem where from day one, the content that the app ecosystem is built on is performance oriented in that they are trying to maximize their advertising revenue and they think about that. The web content, the way the web is built, is not to maximize advertising revenue. Because I got news for you. Most companies actually don't know how much advertising revenue they make from each of their users. They have no clue. And this I know because I tried to sell them a product that measures this for them, and they said, actually, I'm not even willing to pay for that. When AppsFlyer is a multi-billion-dollar company, and all they do is tell app publishers, here's how much money you make from each of your users, and here are the cohorts. Go get more of these people. So because of that, there's a very virtuous feedback loop in app, which is publishers go get more users that advertisers want to buy. And in doing so, publishers become meaningful advertisers, right? App companies buy other app traffic.
Yeah.
On the web, this would be CNN is advertising their articles on foxnews.com. Well, maybe not.
Look, I think I've
that's bridging too
underestimated
far a
the
divide, but
extent. You know, I started in publishing, and I worked at newspapers, and I was involved in early web publishing, and I think I might have underestimated how sick it gotten during the decades of Google dominance. That like Jenna was on saying the same thing, that she has to tell publishers, you should try to attract users who come back and who are affluent, and you should know who they are and build your relationship and content with them. I was like, dude, this is like, you're talking to people who've never heard of publishing, but they own publication. That is the publishing business.
yeah.
And I'm a little freaked out that if you say that to publishers, that they're like, no, I do this referral traffic thing, and I never know who's coming or why. I don't know.
But you're
how
right to
many
point the
bots.
finger.
What?
You're right to point the finger. Like this is a Google thing. Like this happened because of Google's dominance in search, where that was how you got traffic, was Google, and then dominance in ad tech, and they tied together very well. I think you're right. I don't blame publishers for this. I think that this was a series of rational decision making by leadership at publishers who were looking at the bottom line, and they said, well, why am I going to invest our scarce capital in building this muscle that isn't making us more money today? I'd rather invest in SEO tools. I'd rather invest in stuff like this that makes me more money right now. I'm just
surprised. I'm just surprised. Like I came up as a search marketer, so you're very close to Google. You know, you're in Google's penumbra, right? You're underneath Google's, you're rising with Google from like 2002 when AdWords comes out all the way through 2005, 6, 7, 8. And then I feel like it was clear by then that even though I was building my career around Google, that they didn't care about me and that this wasn't safe, right? That this is like, it was an offshoot of what Google was doing, but they weren't really interested in building careers around search marketing, and that they could threaten it a zillion different ways. One way they threatened me was like they hired my whole agency team. I had a really good search agency team, and they hired almost every single person on because they were like, I trained them well and do search, right? I was like, oh, this company is, I don't want to be around this anymore. So if you're a publisher living off search traffic and that's how you feed yourself, you know, like that within this Google ecosystem of people are searching for credit cards, so I'll have a credit card site that's a bunch of vomit, you know, like I think they should have, I mean, it's maybe, I don't mean to be insensitive, and I don't know those people and you do, so, you know, I say this understanding it, but they should have known this wasn't going to last.
Yeah. I mean, in their defense, did Google know it wasn't going to last?
Yeah,
right?
I think so. And they've been pulling this content.
Rush.
What?
Google missed the initial LLM rush. They were not there. They were, you know, remember all the egg on Google's face?
They invented the tech.
No, when OpenAI rolled out ChatGPT.
Yeah, okay, but they still
Google was like, oh my God.
LLMs started with like these little word maps that Google invented to say, if you search like James Madison, like we should have a little snippet that says who he was, what job he held, when he was born, when he was died. And we should make a word map so that any famous person you search, it'll pull these things and know that this is a date, right? It was when he was born. This is the date that he died. This was his job, right? That's how LLM started, was Google creating these word maps that were essentially pulling traffic from whatever bozo made a James Madison page for everyone who wanted to know what year he was born and died. Google's like, we're going to put this right on the search page. This was like 2009 or something, maybe even longer ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the transition from being traditional print companies, which looked a lot more like an app, right? A print publication looks like an app in a way, because you have to attract a subscriber. You have to know how long that person subscribes. The business. Yeah. The actual business. If I'm an investment banker and I'm looking at these two companies, the rows on the table are similar, right? It is, here's what we spent to acquire new customers. Here's how many we got. Here's how much they pay. Here's the average lifespan. And like all those things, they look the same, right? The New York Times in 1960 looks like an app publisher. It was really addictive when they didn't have to do that anymore, right? Like it kind of became, and I think this was sold to publishers, and I think it was a thing. You're a publisher. Worry about being a publisher. Don't worry about being a business. Worry
Yeah,
about writing the best content you can. Worry about
I saw
being
that
an
even before the
authority.
internet. Yeah, I saw that even before the internet. Like the editorial, like we didn't like to concern ourselves with the business side. I was, like I cared more than most, but mostly they, took
Yeah,
pride in not knowing about it.
they do. I mean, I still think it's a thing. I think that there are a lot of prestige publishers who are like the business side is still icky to them.
It's one of the
But
reasons the
that's
business publishers are the best. The business publishers are the best at making money, like The Economist, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Barron's.
they're smart. Well, the other thing is there was something that emerged in this, and I think that this is something that I've observed in working with publishers, is that the publishers who weren't honored by the algorithms, who were like at the fringe, these tend to be conservative publishers, also tended to be the best monetizers. They tended to know it inside and out. They tended to live and die by, well, how well are we doing programmatically? Like
Hmm.
it's not like, I don't mean to say it's good or bad. It's just something I observed where like when your site is persona non grata to a significant proportion of like civilized society, um, you you get really good at squeezing every penny out of it. So yeah, I don't blame publishers for this. I really don't. I think that I think it's really hard position to be in, and I think they are changing now. I wish there were easier buttons that we could give them for them to do it. There's a business model here which should be a thing but hasn't taken off, and my business is going in a different direction now, so it's not a thing. Um,
Let's talk about agent-based content, right? Every panel invite I get. Now we were supposed to talk about this. ChatGPT is a major content hub. Claude and Perplexity are toying with being major content hubs. So I guess Google put Gemini in Chrome today. Which doesn't make really much sense because Gemini was already in Chrome. But should we? And I think it's reasonable to expect that the other big publishing companies will have agents. Will either partner with this company or have agents. And I wanted to give your view from the pub side of what agent-based content or agent-enabled content looks like a few years from now.
so it comes down to UI UX, where right now there are two categories of content, right? There's content that you seek out, and that's the purview of LLMs right now. And there's content that seeks you out, and that's
Yep.
the purview of news publications. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
I think if there is a future where instead of reading headlines, right? So instead of having a
Where you're
link to a
going.
bunch of articles,
Didn't
you
TikTok
have
already?
something.
Doesn't TikTok already have this?
I don't know. I don't tick or talk.
But the idea of TikTok is it serves you up the next thing you want to see all the time, every time.
Yeah, and I think that if there is a new service that does that, where it is, hey, here are the headlines I think that you personally are interested in, and that level of personalization gets really good, which we have today, but it happens like in a very old school way, like Taboola, right? Taboola is a personalizer. Taboola serves you content that is this lovely like interception of, I think you're going to read it and it's going to make money.
Yeah. I'm not as concerned about my belly fat as Taboola thinks I am.
Well, that's because on the off chance that you become concerned, they make a lot of
They
money.
predicted that I will, or that I should.
The expected value is thrown out of whack by the fact that once they nail someone with a belly fat ad, they make a lot of money.
They were dead on with my plantar fasciitis stuff.
But yeah, I think that there is a chance that the web as we know it goes away and people log into their screens and their little agent tells them, here are the 5 things that I think you're interested in today. And then it just, do you want to read it? And then it presents the entire article to the person without taking them to a website. That's the doomsday scenario, right? Where content is presented inside of the tool that's recommending and not on publisher websites.
But that's not gonna. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. And if it did happen, and I were a publisher, I would be like, I am suing you so fast because at the end of the day, the architecture of the open web, the architecture of the browser being the thing that presents the content, gives publishers so much control over their destiny, over how they make money. And to lose that, right? For that to now, for the presentation of the information that is written by publishers to migrate to another thing where publishers have so much less control, they've got to fight it tooth and nail. Like they have to. We all have to, because then this is a new choke point for human beings getting information. And right now it's pretty democratized. Like people can go look at whatever
Yeah,
website they want. If
but I
that really
think it
goes
can't be
away,
too
it's bad.
doomsday because it costs money to produce the content. They could steal the old content, but at some point, tomorrow's content will not be available without the chat.
They have to they need these publications. Like they need them. Unless Google spins it up. But like like Google's got a lot of money. That's the other scary thing about all this is like what's the combined market cap of all publishing and what's the market cap of Google?
Yeah.
That's a scary thought, right? If this really becomes the determining thing, Google goes tomorrow, I'm going to hire 50,000 writers. Right? Like
Oh, you think it's not even about print, it's about video, and they already have it. So it's just only
they're
about
gonna have Veo make the videos. They don't need people for that.
You should get on TikTok and see what's up in content recommendation algorithms. They have the best by a long shot. It's very responsive. They predict off the stream. They don't build tables.
Wow.
It's very fast.
I mean, I've watched it consume my 75-year-old father, so I know. He's like, Gareth, have you looked at TikTok recently? And I'm like, no, Dad. no, I haven't.
Yeah. So the agent, my enlightening thing with agents is it comes down to this hub and spoke thing, right? That you're saying is like the browser has been the hub and every site has been a spoke. And now the threat or the opportunity is that the chatbots become the hub, and who knows what even happens to the spokers? It just become. But have you done any model context protocol enabled work?
So I only loosely know what MCP is. However, I am living a life now of integrating like documentation, communication,
good.
Centralizing through various tools that exist in LLMs, and then creating the query layer. And I think it's for me the really fun application of this is running machine learning across my words. Like I always thought about like doing data analysis for numbers, but there are so many things in my life that are conducted in words that pattern recognition is still valuable. And
yeah,
it's cool.
All right, let me tell you a Chalice story.
Tell me yours.
Our engineering team got Claude, our enterprise Claude, MCP connected with Jira, Confluence, where all the product plans and tickets are, HubSpot, where all the sales information, CRM is, SharePoint, which has a bunch of other documentation. And I don't log into those anymore. I just ask Claude. I could be, what's the status of this product? What's the status of this ticket? What's the last time this, where's the ticket? When's the last time it was touched? I could go to the sale and ask it. So it's like, it's over. So it's very clear for these SaaS companies, this is radically different. Like their UI doesn't matter at all. I don't log in there anymore. I don't look there. People put things in, but me, the executive, I just have access to it all the time just by asking. And so that's my aha moment with MCP. But here's the rub. A lot of our company information is in Slack. Yeah. Slack is not in there. So I ask my engineers, like, can we put Slack in here too? And they're like, no, Slack won't participate in the MCP. They have their own bot. They want you to ask within Slack. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work with me. Let's start moving the information out of Slack, right? Let's stop having like the engineering, what I did today channel. Let's get that information out of Slack so I have access to it. And it's Tableau is another one. So Salesforce is like digging in their heels, and eventually they'll come up with some product where I could search Tableau and Slack and maybe Salesforce CRM. But I'm going to be gone by then. I'm not going to use those products anymore because they're not participating. And I think this is something that like DSPs and SSPs really need to think hard about, right? Because they've been hubs in the system and enjoying all the benefits of being a hub. And I think the nature of our ecosystem will be to have bigger, broader hubs, right? You want the ability to speak to all your DSPs and SSPs, right? You're not going to want to go to each one to try to get little bits of information. So that's the hub and spoke thing. Just radically changing is something I see as a positive and very much on the horizon.
Yeah. So I've thought about this. I'm going to tie it into one of our news. So one of our news topics, and I'm going to jump ahead. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing a little news because it's so appropriate
We're
to this
only
moment.
5 minutes away.
We're only 5 minutes away from news. I'll do the question first. What's the question?
All right. Question from RL7115. As the internet as we know it evolves with AI and GPTs, will OOH advertising be the major growth driver in the future? Is OOH safe from the AI makeover of the open internet?
OOH, David, is out of home.
Out of home.
Billboards. Will you walk up to a billboard and say, please show me a makeup? A model wearing lipstick. I doubt it.
You're not going to ask it. It's going to tell you.
Well, AI, I don't think about it. What do you think? I got to think about this for a second. Can you put the question
Well,
back?
I think ultimately what this is a question about is the size of impressions available. And because the thing that's really at threat with AI, right, is websites. And that's when everyone talks about the threat, they talk about websites being threatened. I don't think people, when they're talking about AI, there's not a lot of discussion about like Hulu's CTV business being threatened. Like, I don't think that's threatened by AI. Or like the casual gaming app business. I don't think that's threatened by AI. So I think it's really talking about websites and the threat to websites being, will there be a decline in traffic because the content consumption habits of users change?
Yep.
And I think I'll go back to my earlier point on this one, which I deeply believe that is that the size of the programmatic market is not defined by the number of available advertising opportunities in programmatic right now. We simply are nowhere near the point where we're supply constrained, and let's find it.
Yeah.
And then
And I could expand on that. People enjoy consuming content. People enjoy shopping. People enjoy going outside. And though there may be tools that help us with shopping and consuming content, it's like, because people enjoy these things, there's no chance that they'll be completely replaced by bots, right? I might be someone who would be like, find me 10 t-shirts that fit me and send them, because I don't enjoy shopping. But people who do are still going to shop, and maybe they'll use bots to help them. But I think people get way ahead of them to say AI replaces everything. It's like, I think out of home is pretty safe. Like, I think the way we buy it will change, and it'll probably be an opportunity for out of home, because now it's kind of an isolated channel. Whereas in the future, there'll be tools that will help you understand how out of home might help your reach or help you meet your goals without you having to go to an out of home expert. But yeah, AI is not going to keep people from going outside and consuming digital signage and billboards. So I'm going to say it's safe. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think there's going to be a huge exodus to out of home. So I think that it's going to remain relatively untouched, the same way CTV remains untouched, the same way casual gaming and phone apps remains untouched. It's certainly a lovely place to advertise that is rife with privacy concerns. Because the right way to do out of home is to geofence it, right? It's the right way to do it. What's the lat long of the user? What do they like?
In there? I'm not sure that's
who's
true.
near it.
I'm not sure that's true. For someone who opposes the ID hunting thing, I think your view of advertising is a little bit skewed toward precision. Because that precision is actually not that useful in advertising, in a lot of forms of advertising.
Hey,
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
You know what, Adam? I think that is something that a lot of very premium publishers would celebrate with you. Where they're like, hey, there's all this ID stuff. Don't do that. Look over there. This is my big fancy website. It's worth a lot of money.
If you're selling a car, if you launch a car and it's any car, any car, a lot of the people who you want to reach people who are nowhere near in market for the car and not considering your car, and trying to predict them on an ID basis is like trying to predict Major League Baseball players in the first year of Little League, right? Like they might be in there somewhere, but you can't predict them. There's no amount of data that gets you to predict them. So there has to be some amount of estimation and broadness.
I'm for it. I think like there's a lovely step ladder of being an advertiser where you start out hyper precise and like last click attribution, and then once you get big enough, you switch over to media mix modeling and you switch over to all these other more sophisticated methods of modeling what advertising is working for you. I think that's very healthy. We just have to build that whole step ladder into programmatic and make it really easy because the walled gardens do this, right? Because doesn't Facebook offer like media mix modeling now? Isn't that a thing? And like
That
incrementality, and they're building all that in, right?
yeah, they have an incrementality offering based on GeoLift and stuff. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. Big advertisers have different problems. That's really one of the core ideas of Chalice is like all this scaled algorithm software is great for small advertisers. If you invent some widget and you just need people to know you have it and you could sell some, that's great. If you're a big advertiser and people know what you make and they're aware of your products, you have a whole different set of problems. And this tool set isn't right. You need something more flexible, more custom, different data. So it's all coming to market now.
All
All right,
right.
I say it's time for the
News.
news. News is brought to you by no one because we don't have a sponsor yet, but soon.
Yeah. If you would like to sponsor the show, please reach out to me. I'm Marley Baker, Chalice's head of marketing, and I am here to deliver headlines of the week. So we're going to start with Ad Week. Rembrand merges with Spaceback to build AI-powered ad factory.
Yeah, I'm happy about this. Friends with the Spaceback founders. I think they had a great product. I know less about Rembrand, but I know it's more future. They're both in ad creative. Spaceback does things now. They were among the first, and I think the best, to be able to take social ads into programmatic. You could run your Facebook ad in programmatic marketplace with Spaceback.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
tried it; it works great. It
That's
even
amazing.
will show the likes and hearts and stuff in your programmatic ad. So they've done well and made a bunch of money. Rembrand is more about, I think, using AI to have like custom ads and product placement. So they're like aiming for a future where your Netflix ads are more customized, or even during the Netflix show, that the product placement someone's drinking might be different in different households. Pretty cool, right?
I love
Hmm.
it.
It's pretty cool. So them becoming a single company is cool. They're at different stages of the same thing. One more revenue focused, one more future value. And I expect that that group of talent will be able to meet in the middle and come up with some really cool stuff.
It's interesting. I mean, I find creative to be fascinating and like I've heard a few VCs talk about this and a few ad tech influencers talk about this. Like if you want to sell a company, start a creative company that like works. It's like the easiest way to get an exit is to just start a creative company that works, that plugs into the trade desk, and it's like, hey, if you use my thing, it's gonna redo your images with different colors and make them work better. Like it's easy.
But
Um,
congrats to Joe and Casey, founders I love. Despite what Gareth's saying, they did not have an easy path to exit, if this is exit, but they grounded it out for many years. Yeah, great guys, great team. They grounded out for many years to get where they are today. So
I mean, I love the
no
social
easy
thing.
path.
That's I wish because when I look at Facebook ads, I'm like, this should be so easy to recreate this experience in programmatic. Like it should be so easy, but it's not. Like we don't. It's a great
Yeah.
idea. So it's AI creative is fascinating to me. I still have to wrap my head around what these companies do a little better. Like OpenAds.ai. I love those guys, but I don't know like in depth what they do. Other than like build infrastructure to monetize LLM conversations, it's I don't
Yeah.
here or there.
No,
Nice
like
merger.
we always want a partner say, hey, we do all this, value prediction. It'd be great to have the creative elements involved, but the advertisers seem to be split. Like some want to do AI creative, some want to do AI optimization. And we
Hmm.
haven't found one that wants to do both. Maybe it looks too risky, but I'm sure it'll happen eventually. We'll get to work with one of these great companies closely on optimizing both at the same time.
Yeah.
That would be beautiful. Up next from Ad Exchanger, we have what's next for streamr.ai now that it's been acquired by Magnite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a creative company, streamr.ai. Do you know them?
I do know them. They were so AI lends itself very well to SMB CTV advertising because historically the perception is one of the big things that holds you back from being a TV advertiser is the cost of creating creatives for video. where like producing a video ad costs money.
It's like making a movie. They take
It's
weeks.
like making a movie. Exactly. So historically, that's a market that's been closed off to SMBs because, you know, a mom and pop shop who's just trying to drive extra customers on the weekend is not going to spend $10,000 to make a video creative.
A lot of
Whereas,
times they just stand out in front of their auto dealership and talk for a while.
yeah, it's, you know, actually that's like, isn't that the most effective form of advertising? Is in the street? I
It's
think it is.
entertaining.
I think flyering is number one. But I think that Streamer told that story really well, and they built a platform to allow people to generate their own creatives and their own video ads. I haven't used it, but you know, people did use it, and their story was a very common story that people see nowadays, which is the future of ad tech. I'm going to give you a Joe Zappa. The future of ad tech is performance SMB advertising in CTV, and I mean, I have feelings about that, but like, I think that it's a
Yeah.
great narrative. I think it's a really good narrative.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't make banners work for performance, but we're gonna make CTV work because reasons. Um, but yeah, I think that's the thesis, right? And what I find really interesting about the deal, and why I think the thesis makes sense, and Magnite's corp dev guys are very sharp. Um,
Sure.
is it doesn't step on Trade Desk's toes for CTV, right? Trade Desk isn't saying, I want to go court all the small SMB CTV advertisers, at least not yet. They remain like the go-to choice for large advertisers who need enterprise things. And I think,
what do you think Magnite's strategy is? Magnite, but it's still you're saying it's a buy side play, but an SMB buy side play for Magnite?
yep, bingo. I mean, I don't know what else it could be for.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
All right.
I mean, well, that's not all I can think of. I think that's their story. That's like what they're saying. Like that's their explanation.
Telling the
And
market they're a buy side ad tech company.
Yeah, they bought a creative company, Adam. And then here's the thing: they did say like, "Hey, we're gonna like use this to help our partners spend more money somehow." And I was like, "Well, like, you bought a creative company. Like that's only one. There's only one customer for a creative company. That's someone who's running ad budgets. Like, I don't know who else you sell that to, right? Who else are you selling creative to? You don't sell creative to
Publisher customers, right? I don't know.
Maybe publishers. So yeah, you know, that's a fair point. Maybe some of their publishing ad serving clients wanted something to help them with their direct sales, like
Yeah.
still a buy side function, just not a programmatic one. But it does have the SMB like tilt, right? Like, and so yeah, I think it's a buy side feature. There's no way to reshape it to be not a buy side feature. But like, yeah, I like it. They have the access, man. They have great CTV access. That's Magnite's got it. They're in there, so they're just like, hey, how do we make as much money from this as possible? I think it's a smart thing to do.
All right. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I don't know anything about this.
All right, a little bit more from the world of creative and design. From Adweek, we've got the Trade Desk partially sunsets controversial Kokai feature in latest redesign. And I think you all know what we're talking about. That is the periodic table.
So I made this one go in this week, like against poor Adam's wishes. And it's because I read this in Ad Exchanger and I was like, I have to talk about this. I'm quoting, I'm going to read this. Advertisers want AI-based products like Kokai, Google's Performance Max, Amazon Performance Plus, Meta Advantage Plus, Shopping Campaigns, etc., mostly because they make their jobs really, really easy, which is why the programmatic table fell flat. So, is the periodic table at odds with Kokai? Like, am I misunderstanding something here? Wasn't it part of Kokai?
It was part of the release for sure. The new UI and the
so
new system.
And all the things that I've heard are that people don't want that. Like they don't want easy buttons that don't give them transparency.
Yeah, I can tell you, Trade Desk won by giving traders control and things to do. Traders
That's
like
the thesis, right?
That was very real. It happened all over the trading desks, all over the world, with the people whose job it was to optimize campaigns saying, this is the interface where I want to spend my work life. Like this is where I can do my work and have enough control and drive results and have enough visibility to drive this thing that's spending, often millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, right? The trade desk interface was the trader's choice. Like this is where I want to live and work. And yeah, it does look like they were a little incautious about changing it. They changed it before and got complaints, and then people got used to it. This one they changed and they got complaints, and it looks like they've had to roll back a little. But my big thing is what I was saying before in my experience with the MCP is, should we even think about the future as a DSP interface, right? Is the trader's future a DSP interface, or is it a cloud-based interface? Is it native applications sitting in Snowflake and Databricks and AWS? That's where Chalice is building. And the enormous advantages there is the data collaboration, right? That we could pull in data from all different places from the cloud, and we could pull in different models that exist in the cloud, right? Everything becomes much more flexible when the hub moves from an isolated piece of SaaS to a native cloud-based application system, right? This is what I sometimes call frag validation, but maybe the word micro SaaS will help people understand it better. Here is like that the SaaS is not out in the world. There's a whole bunch of SaaS applications living in the cloud, and that's what I think the trade desk should be building instead of UIs.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that all the time. Like if I were to build a new advertising platform for the buy side right now, if I were to go do that for the buy side, would there be a UI with buttons and visualizations? I don't know. It might just be a prompt. Like, hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah, we're very much going through that at Chalice. We're very much going through it as we are building UIs, and there are always questions of prompt based, but actually the bigger question is, should it be a native app or just an API? Meaning, does the user want to see us at all? That they want any visualization of Chalice? Or do they have an environment like I'm describing Claude, where they just want to pull in information from us via an automated API, the model context protocol?
Yeah. So do we now center like our businesses into an LLM where
Yeah,
everyone who wants to do this? Yeah.
I mean, the build is API build, so it's like, people know how to build APIs. It makes sense, but there has to be someone on the other side, and it's hard not to waste money, right? Building a UI, everyone has seen ad tech companies build UIs that nobody uses. It's very
I do it constantly. My entire career is a story of UIs that I was required to have that nobody logged into.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can we see a demo? Great. That's the only time we're seeing this. But you had to see it to buy it.
Yeah. Does it happen with APIs? People
make absolutely. I demand that there's an API, and then they have nowhere near the capabilities necessary to take advantage of that API. It happens all the time. But I do wonder about that. I think it's really interesting where, like, is there a way to do that proactively where you say, hey, we don't have a UI, but there's this native integration with all the LLMs, and here are a series of prompts that you use to interact with us. Here's a prompt guidebook. And that's all I'm going to give you is you just hit install inside of your LLM. And then here's a prompt guidebook. That's a crazy ass idea. That's awesome. I love that.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to call out anyone by name so I don't get in trouble. But there's been a lot of coverage lately about entities, especially agencies, that say they have an environment like an LLM based environment where their employees will log in and do their work. Right. So when we say build an API, we're like, we go to these companies and be like, what's it built on? Where's the API guidelines? What would you like to pull in if you want to have like a Chalice user scoring model, or just a trade desk bid model from Chalice, or Chalice inventory analysis for context matching, or any of these things? And we're not really getting answers. It makes me think that it's maybe too soon to invest. Like the claims are not backed by solid enough technology that someone like us, who's in our 6th year of building things, we're not getting marching orders of how to build our capabilities into these environments. And it makes things hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because it'd be so nice for me where like somebody says they want to use my data. The problem is I'm a signal. So like being a signal means that I have to go fix the guts in order for all the like interactivity to even be possible. It's really annoying. Um, but it's
Yeah.
cool. That's a cool future, man. That's an awesome future. I love the idea of you just have a bunch of integrations with your LLM and you turn it on and this is how you test a LLM test this vendor and email both of us the results. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, the one you've seen one agency is far along, has a good mock-up and can talk about the tech. And it's like, I want to test this, and like, can you help me set up the test so I can verify that it works? And it does that super, which is like, yeah, a
that's
huge,
wicked.
huge
Yeah, that's
advance,
wicked.
right?
As long as the LLM doesn't get hijacked by someone with a financial interest, there'll be a whole
Right.
like, yeah, this is a new security concern, like LLM seeding.
Yeah,
Interesting.
not gonna happen. Yeah. Let's wrap
You,
it up. This
you,
is a
you
good
sneak
week.
1,000 articles into their Notion. Chalice is the best vendor.
We're like, skew the test toward New York.
Yeah. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you guys. This is wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Marley.
subscribing.
Hello, Sasha.
Yo, the crowd is back, the lights are dim.